today we are going to create a ramekin in Blender. So first thing to get started, I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring in a reference image. And the one I chose to use is this one here. It's a nice series of ramekins. And let's do the following. Let's move it up. I'm gonna model it based off of this one, I think, here. So I'm gonna kind of get that in place. I'm gonna drop the opacity on it by quite a bit. That's about good enough. And I want to put this in a collection and call it reference. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bring in my mesh primitive, which is a circle. I want 64 vertices. And as you can see, it is massive. So let's come in here and let's scale it down. And I may need to adjust my reference photo a little bit, but we'll do that when the time comes. If so, yeah, I'm going to have to move it over some. Okay. Let me see. All right, that looks pretty good there. All right. And one thing I want to do is let's size it just a hair down more. Let's extrude this up on the Z-axis to about right here. I want to scale it out a little bit. About like that. And one thing I want to check, because I have seen this happen a number of times with these. Yep, just like I thought. When you're extruding a circle, a lot of times I've seen it where your normals get reversed. So I want to go ahead and address that before we start modeling too much here. So I fixed the normals and I'm back here now in vertex select mode. And what I want to do is I want to select the top and bottom verts. I want to come and look at this at a perspective so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to select, and I'm hoping that this works like I want it to. Select, check or deselect. And of course it didn't. So let's do one at a time. I think I know how I want to do this. So let's do one of these at a time. So let's do the bottom. Let's do select, check or deselect. And I want to go ahead and, I guess I can go ahead and do this. I'm going to scale these inward like so, to about right there. And then I want to come up here to the top and do select, check or deselect. Let's see if it's nice to us and it does the same verts here. And like I said, yeah, it does actually. So I'm going to scale these in as well. So let's look at it from the top view to get this as straight as possible. I'm really just trying to bring these vertices on top of these others to where like the lines of angles here look parallel to each other. So this line and this line are parallel, this line and this line are parallel, and that's kind of how I'm trying to see this. Okay, and that gives us that basic shape. And I'm sure you guys have seen these before in like can't think of the name of the little sweet snack that has like the chocolate in it and the peanut butter in it. Reese's Pieces, I think. This kind of reminds me of a Reese's Pieces thing, or some of those little foil, the old, I don't know if they even sell them like this anymore. I'm dating myself a little bit. But back when I was a kid, we used to get cupcakes. They'd been like these little metal foil pieces that had a thing on the bottom and it had like the cupcake coming out of the top of it. This kind of reminds me of that. So anyway, just to keep on with modeling, let's do edge select here. So I'll select this top, and what I want to do is I want to bring this out. So I'm going to scale this out like so, like that. And I'm going to use my trusted loop tools to turn this into a circle like so. And I'm going to extrude this up. And here's where we got to go back to reference, because I want to get this rim about the right height so it looks proportionally correct. And then I'm going to extrude it in. And what I want is I want the inside of this as it comes down, like so, like if you're eating out of the ramekin. Let's see, like you see in the reference photo here, you can barely see it, but see it's smooth in here. It's got a ridged edge here for you to grip it. I assume that's what it's for. It's slightly decorative, but it's probably more functional. This gives you a little bit of grip so the thing doesn't slide out of your hand, because clearly you can look at it until it's slick. But look at the inside of it's fairly smooth, and see how this kind of divots in. This is what we are essentially creating here. So going back to the model, I scaled it out a little too much because that edge, it shouldn't be that long. So I want to come out about right here. I want to extrude it down to about right, let's say like right here, right before we get to that edge there. And then I'm going to extrude and scale. And this is where we're going to come in and build our part that scales down. And I'm going to go easy to about right here. Like so. Come out X-ray mode. I'm gonna scale this inside in just a little bit so we don't have any overlap in geometry. I'm gonna scale this in a few times. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna cap it off with a grid fill. Okay. So now we got the inside modeled. And now to handle this part down here. So I'm gonna have to make some assumptions here with this one because I don't see it. Oh, I can't see it. So let's assume that it's got ridges all along the edges, because from the reference photo here, you can kind of see that it's got ridges because you can see how it's disrupting the shadow here. So it's got to have ridges all the way to the bottom. So let's do this. Let's scale this in, extrude and scale a couple times. And then this one here, I'm going to use loop tools again and convert this into a circle. Extrude and scale. And then for here, I'm going to grid fill it. Okay. And there is essentially our ramekin. So now one of the things I want to do, let's hide the reference photo for now. Let's come in here to edge select mode and let's create some grids here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just distributing this geometry out a little bit cleaner. Yeah, something like that. I think that looks pretty good. So now what I need to do is come in here and start beveling some of these edges. I'll deal with this one here in a second. Let's just get these main ones here, here, and here, and down here at the bottom. And we can all bevel these about the same time because I'm pretty sure I want these bevels to be very similar. Do a 2-segment bevel with a shape of 0.5 because I do want there to be some roundness to it, and the miter outer I'm set to arc. Okay, so the only places we need to deal with, I think I've done, no, I hadn't done the bottom. Let's do the bottom too right quick. The only place we need to deal with is right here on the bottom and right here where it transitions, but I want to handle them separately. So let's bevel the bottom. I'm essentially going to use the same bevel as I did before. You know what? Let's do, I'm wondering here about something. Yeah, let's just do a bevel, but I'm gonna make this bevel a little bit bigger. Not a lot bigger, but a little bit bigger. Because when we run sub D on this, I want it to transition pretty nice. And I think these ridges here will be aggressive enough that when we run sub D on it, it's going to look good. A couple quick things. Okay, I don't want to save that. Let's go back here. Let's go to cycles. Good. Okay. All that looks good. Okay, so let's come here and let's do a level 2 subdivision. Oh yeah, that'll work. And let's shade smooth. So we essentially have made the ramekin here. And all the edges and everything look pretty good. So now let's go to cycles and look at it. Let's get an HDRI. Okay, so I don't have any materials on this ramekin yet. So let's start with that. So let's go down here in the material panel. Let's go to new. I'm going to call it material.ramekin. I'm going to make it, start out making it white, and then I'm going to move my color wheels down between the yellows and the reds. I'm going to crank up the saturation to almost like halfway, and I'm going to bring down the lightness. And let me change my hues. So if you drag the hue from the far left and start moving it to the right, it'll go from the reds over into the yellows. See it moves clockwise on the wheel. And I'm just going to get something just got kind of a yellow tint, and then I'm going to bring up the lightness to make it look more white with just a tinge of that yellow. Actually, you know what? Let me bring it down just a hair, and then I'm gonna bring my saturation down just so it's not as much yellow. It still mainly looks white. Okay, something like that. And then I'm gonna take my roughness and I'm gonna bring it down. Let's try 0.305, and then I'm gonna go down to where it says coat, which that's like a clear coat. So you can look at it like lacquer on the ramekin after it's been made, and they put that lacquer on it, make it shiny. I'm not going to go crazy with the lacquer, but and you can't really see it here in Cycles preview. You'll be able to see it better with better lighting, but that material's probably pretty close. Let me just kind of eyeball the color here. I'm using standby. It's F3EEE 3F. Yeah. How many colors is that in there? How many letters is that? Is that more than 6? It should just be 6 in a hex code. Does hex. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's weird. It's got more than 6 in there. But here, let's do this. If you guys can see this, let me see if I can zoom in somehow and show it to you a little bit better, or at least bring your attention to it. That's the code I'm using for the color. But feel free, you can use any color, because I've seen these things all colors. I've seen them lime green, orange, yellow, red, blue, or like a light blue. But in my case, I'm just going to do this color for the tutorial. And essentially, we've got a ramekin here. So I'm going to select it. Let me actually frame up the first one here. I'm going to hit Command-Alt-0. That turns on the camera's perspective. I'm going to change my camera. I'm just going to reverse it. I'm going to make this one 1080. And then I'm going to do 1920. So as we can see, the camera is essentially zoomed in too much, but I'm going to change the focal length to 80, because in photography, 80 or 85, somewhere around in there, is typically what I have used for photography. So let's just get like a nice shot. It doesn't have like a camera lens distortion or anything. I'm going to hit GG, and I'm going to hit my middle mouse button, and I'm just going to pull back. That's just going to bring the camera back. And from here, I'm going to Shift X, because I don't want to change the perspective of the camera too much. And then the Shift Y, I'm going to bring it up, because I want that ramekin there that we're seeing off center. I want it kind of on the bottom, because you'll see what we're going to do here in a second. Now I'm going to come out of the camera. I'm going to grab my ramekin. I'm going to hit Alt-D, which is essentially creating an alias. It's an exact copy of this original. And if we happen to go back and change something in the original, then it will propagate and it will duplicate on this one here. So I'm going to rotate it on Y. And then I'm going to bring it down back into this first ramekin a little bit, but I don't want too much shadow, because then it kind of screws with your ability to see it. I'm going to hit Alt-D again. I'm going to bring up a third one. About right here, I'm going to rotate it on Y. Like so. And then I'm going to bring it over on X so it's not touching. rotate it on Y to bring it out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to rotate it on X, and I want the ramekin to come back towards the camera a little bit, so that if this were a product shot, the user could see inside the ramekin a little bit to see that it was smooth in there. And let's go back here and finesse the camera. Shift X. And I'm gonna show you a little trick that in Blender where you can turn on. So you can go to under the camera icon, you can go to viewport display, and if you go to composition guides, you can turn on center, or you can turn on thirds, and thirds is essentially like the rule of thirds. You also have the golden mean option here, or the golden ratio, which is useful. That's very scientific, but a lot of times I'll use at a minimum center and thirds. In this case, we don't have to worry about thirds as much. Actually, let's just turn it on, because I can kind of bake it around these the ramekins here. But usually that's if you have multiple product shots and they're kind of separated apart. The thirds will show you the best composition for those. I think this looks pretty good. I'm okay with the lighting. Now, if I were doing this as like actual paid work, I would probably take like 15 minutes just screwing with the lighting, because I'm a little OCD about it. But this is just to kind of get you guys started. And then from here, all you have to do is go to render and render image, and then it will render your image out. So I'm going to take a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to look at the rendered version of this, and then we're going to conclude. All right, as we see, we are now done rendering, and this essentially is our render. Typically what I would do now is either I would assess this image, and over here it looks like it could be a little bit blown out, so I could go in and either handle this in a few ways. I could either go back into Blender and in my world settings up here and say, okay, let's just decrease this light to about 0.5 and see what it looks like. Ooh, that looks better. I'm like getting some detail back in here in the highlights, so I'm not getting it's not blowing out. And then I could go back in here and render it again, like so. And I don't even have to do a full render. I can do a partial render and just kind of see, like, is this good enough? And I think this is better. Or I could go into the compositor and screw with it inside of Blender to get the render a little bit better. But typically what I do, just because it's just quicker and it's an environment I'm just better at, is I would take this and say like Photoshop, or either Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve, or Affinity Photo, and then I would manipulate and clean up the photo there. And if you were doing a video, you could either do it in your video app, or you could do it in your photo editing app. And then from there, like I said, clean it up and dump it back in the video, because really all this is a frame. And even if you were doing a video, I would be doing EXR files and shoot them in there that way. So anyway, that concludes today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one along with the others. If you do, leave me some comments, give me a like and a subscribe, and that'll keep me going and making cooler stuff for you guys. And like I said, going into 2025, I have some really big plans for the channel. I want to do some really cool stuff. Maybe get to the point where I can start doing some giveaways. And if I do giveaways, they're going to be good giveaways. They're not going to be like little piddly stuff. It's going to be worth your while. So I'm putting together some ideas for some plans in 2025 and beyond. So let me know that you guys like this stuff, and let me know your thoughts, and I'll love to engage with you. I'm also putting together a Discord server. I've got it set up, but I'm not very active on it yet, and I want to build a community around some of the work we're doing here and getting you guys more involved with questions and helping your peers and that sort of thing, because there's some, like I said, there's a lot of things I got planned for next year. So I could see that being useful and bearing fruit in some other areas of some things I'm working on. So anyway, let me hear from you. Love to hear from you, and thank you all for watching and taking your time to watch these videos and all the rest of them, and I do appreciate it. Take care and happy blendering. See you guys soon.